Alrighty guys, welcome back to another little video where today we're going to be talking about and taking a good look at the Dell G5 5000. And I wanted to give my honest review about this machine because my opinion about this machine I think is going to be a lot different than what a lot of other people's are. Now, I am no stranger to Dell's proprietary weirdness. If you guys have been around on my channel long enough, you know that a lot of my actual daily use computers are built out of old Dell machines. So when it comes to the whole proprietary weirdness of this machine, it doesn't scare me and it doesn't bother me. So that's why I really wanted to do this review, because I know my opinion is a lot different than a lot of other people's. So let's get into the full and honest review of the Dell G5 5000, shall we? Alright guys, just wanted to say thank you very much for coming by, like, comment, subscribe, yada yada, all that fun stuff. And let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this machine, because in my opinion, it's really not as bad as what people want to make it out to be. Okay, so let me just start going over the problems of this machine. Number 1, lackluster airflow, but that can be fixed. Number 2, a lackluster CPU cooler, but that can be fixed. Number 3, a lackluster RAM support, but being the fact that right now one of the top-selling kits of RAM on Amazon is actually designed to work in this system, it can be fixed. Number 4, proprietary power supply. It's a 500 watt 80 plus platinum rated unit. I don't see an issue with this moving forward. And probably the biggest issue that people have with this machine is its proprietary form factor. Guys, this is Dell. Everything is proprietary on Dell computers. It's been that way for the last 10 years, and it's not going to change anytime soon. So, let's just start tackling one thing after another. First of all, airflow. The thing is that this case has actually got quite a bit of front case ventilation. The front panel really isn't all that dense when it comes to plastic. It can definitely pull air through it. The only problem really lies in the fact that they put a hard drive cage right in the front of the case, which prevents a lot of good airflow. But like I said, that can be fixed by simply removing the 3.5-inch hard drive and removing the hard drive cage. You can essentially open up the front panel quite a bit. You can also mount an 80mm fan, a 92mm fan, and if you get creative, a 120mm fan in the front of this case to provide quite a bit of airflow. Like I said, the front panel is not as closed off as what people want to make it out to be, but there is a hard drive in the way. So if you're someone who's adamant that they need to have a 3.5-inch hard drive, you might want to find another option for when it comes to mounting that hard drive inside of a case like this, because that front airflow is crucial to keeping the system quiet. Number 2, a lackluster CPU cooler. Essentially, Dell decided to do something actually kind of interesting here. They took a different approach to mounting the CPU cooler than anybody else that I've ever seen, because the CPU mounting bracket for the cooler is actually a part of the case. Now, that actually does serve a couple of different things. Number 1, it gives the cooler much better mounting pressure when it comes to mounting it down to the CPU, which should, in theory, help to have better temperatures in the long run. It also provides a much more stable way to actually mount the cooler, so it's less likely to actually come apart from the motherboard in transit. And that has happened for so many computers. So having it designed like this means that you're less likely to have your cooler bust off and start dealing damage to literally everything else in your system. But they did decide to use a very weird format. They used M3 machining screws for their CPU cooler. But like I said, this can be fixed. The CPU cooler that they have on this machine is very lackluster. They use the same cooler for the i3, i5, i7 models. The only way to get their upgraded premium cooler is by using a K-SKU CPU. But assuming you don't buy a K-SKU CPU, you have this very underwhelming cooler. But there are quite a few videos on the internet already about how to change out your CPU cooler. To simply unmount the current CPU cooler and then mount on something like a Noctua 92mm cooler with M3 machine screws and some M3 washers. Now, I know that does add more cost to the it does add a higher cost to the CPU cooler. But when you're looking at a proprietary form factor, that's just kind of the things that you're going to have to come to expect. You will need to find workarounds for things. Okay, now let's go on to RAM, because that was another massive concern for people. They said that you need to pretty much buy your RAM directly from Dell, but you don't. As long as you have JDAM, I believe it's called JDAM registered memory or JDAM compliant memory, you can use it in a system like this with absolutely zero performance loss. And believe it or not, Crucial Ballistics RAM, one of the best-selling kits of RAM on Amazon right now, is JDAM compliant, meaning that I was able to buy a kit of 16GB kit where it's 2 8GB sticks of Crucial Ballistics running at 3200 MHz CL18, drop it into the system, and have absolutely zero compatibility issues. In fact, I'm actually running 24 gigs of RAM in this system as of right now. My 2x6 or my 2x8 GB kit of Crucial Ballistics plus the original Dell memory stick, and they all run at 2666 CL18, which is what the CPU limits the RAM speed to, as essentially a measure that Intel put in place which was a measure that Intel put in place for some reason. They did not want people to be able to overclock RAM on a non-Z series chipset. So it wouldn't matter if you had any H470 motherboard, you still would not be able to use RAM overclocking. Your RAM would still be stuck at the 2666 for the i3 model, which I have. And now, probably to the biggest concern that people have, is the power supply. Now, for most of the time when you're going to be buying these systems, you'll probably end up being able to find a model with the 500 watt 80 plus platinum rated unit. Now, as long as you buy the one with the 80 plus platinum rated unit, this power supply is not as bad as what people want to make it out to be. So, for all of my testing that I did with this machine, I decided to use my GTX 780 superclocked. Now, that is not exactly a light graphics card. That thing is decently power hungry as well as decently hot. Because I wanted to give this computer, the worst situation possible, because I wanted to put it through its paces. And after a multiple hour-long stress test running the GPU and the CPU, the power supply had absolutely no issue keeping stable power flow. Now, I don't know if I'd recommend running it for a long period of time without undervolting your GPU, but it can definitely handle more power-hungry cards. So, with that being said, all of those kind of problems that people want to have with this system being addressed, how bad is the Dell G5 really? Well, it's not actually bad. The fact of the matter is, Dell has been running proprietary crapware in all of their computers for the last, 15 years. If you go back all the way to the first generation of Dell Optiplexes, with the Core 2 Duos, Core 2 Quads, and then the first generation of Core i Intel machines, you're going to be running into proprietary stuff left and right. That is the way that Dell has always worked, because I guess in their mind it's better to use proprietary hardware to influence more sales. Whether or not what they're doing is correct or even morally ethical, these machines are everywhere because Dell PCs are the business go-tos. So these machines, the Dell G5 5000, as well as the new Dell XPS and the new Dell Optiplex, all share the exact same chassis, all share the same power supplies, all share the same basic case layout except for front panel. And yes, each motherboard does have a few different features that are exclusive to that motherboard, but still, all of these things pretty much have swappable parts. And in the future, I genuinely believe that the newer Dell computers are still going to be very, very popular. Now, people say that these computers are not going to be customizable, not going to be moddable, not going to be workable when they are finally hitting the market en masse. Now, I don't believe that that's true, because I can honestly say I've already started working with my machine, and it's actually relatively easy to work with honestly the only really big problem I have with this machine is a lack of space. Because this thing is a small mid-tower case. It is a essentially MATX style motherboard with only 4 PCIe expansion slots. So this is not a large case by any means. And trying to work with a computer like this and trying to add a whole bunch of parts to it, it does get to be a little bit cramped at times. But with that being said, I have yet to run into an issue that I cannot solve. When it comes to mounting a new CPU cooler, all you simply need is to have a CPU cooler that is able to be mounted with the M3 screws. There are a few different coolers that I know for a fact work, and there's another cooler that I'm pretty sure would work. Also, if you're not planning on doing anything crazy, you can always buy a Dell Premium Tower Cooler, which would come with their K-SKU CPUs. Now yes, those are relatively expensive, but being the fact that they are the proprietary Dell hardware and you don't want to mess around and need to use the additional M3 screws and washers, you can buy a essentially brand new CPU cooler from eBay to just mount directly into the system. And back to what I was saying originally with how these computers are going to be more common in the future, I guarantee that the prices of parts for these machines are going to go down. But being the fact that this is still the current generation machine, it will definitely take some time. So the best policy with these machines is always to be patient. Now, is a machine like this actually worth it? That depends, because I bought my computer off of eBay. As of right now, we have a massive GPU shortage because of crypto mining. So people are buying up pre-built desktops specifically to buy the graphics cards inside of them. So I bought my Dell G5 with no GPU, an i3 10100 with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 500 watt 80 plus platinum rated power supply with a 1 terabyte hard drive for $257 shipped to my front door. That is why I currently own this machine. It was because it was brand new and still within this price point that I could rationalize spending on a computer like this. So, would I buy a computer like this directly from Dell? Heck no. To buy this computer from Dell, even with a GTX 1650 Super, would cost you in the ballpark of $1,000 USD, and that is absurd. But if you're able to buy one of these machines off of eBay for around that $250 to $300 price point, it's actually pretty logical, because it does have an upgrade path. The only problem with using an older generation like i7 2600, i7 3770, i7 4790 is that they don't really have an upgrade path. Once you get that system, that's pretty much the max that that system is ever going to be able to handle. Your CPU, well, the i7 2600 is not a bad CPU. It simply is, that's the best you got. That's what it ultimately comes down to. That is the best CPU that you can buy for a computer like that. But a system like this with the i3 10100, I could go all the way up to the i9 10850K or the i9 10900K. Now, yes, I do not recommend it on an H470 motherboard. The i3 or i5 would probably be the best options, with maybe going up to the i7 just because. But this computer does have an upgrade path, as well as having brand new parts that you can buy off of Amazon. You don't need to deal with the sometimes questionable nature you buy from eBay or AliExpress. And with that being said, even something like the power supply for this system that people are saying you can't upgrade, I guarantee that there will be upgradable power supplies coming in the future for this machine that they will either create an adapter for to use a standard SFX power supply, or they will simply release more powerful power supplies inside of computers like this. Now, yes, there is a little bit of lack of customizable or moddable stuff for these machines right now, but in the future it will be better. And with all said and done, this machine is not bad. Yes, this machine definitely costs more than something like a Dell Optiplex with an i7 2600. But if you're looking for something that you can actually upgrade and bring into the future with you, that you can actually work with for a longer period of time, the Dell G5 is not a bad option. Now yes, it does have its issues, and I fully understand that, but most of these pre-built computers do have their issues, and especially these Dell computers. Like I've said, proprietary Dell computers are a dime a dozen. They have been around for a very long time, and they are not that hard to work with, contrary to what some people want to say. Now, people like Steve from Gamers Nexus, or Linus from Linus Tech Tips, or even David from David Does Tech, really don't appreciate what these machines can do in the right hands. Now, I understand. I have a lot of experience modifying Dell computers. I mean, my daily driver is a T3500 that is freaking water-cooled. Whoops, I just dropped something. Now, these computers definitely do take some patience to work with. But what you're getting in the long run, I definitely believe is worth the money. And I am going to be doing another video where I fully customize this computer and give it the same treatment that I give all of my Dell computers. Simply because, well, I'm me, and what else would I do? So, tell me guys what you think about this computer. Let me know if you made it to the end of this video, because I mean, this has been a long one of me just talking about this machine. But let me know what you guys think about this machine down in the comment section below, because honestly, I don't really have anything super negative to say about this machine besides it's kind of expensive right now. But in the future, this machine will be a lot cheaper than what it is now. And honestly, I look forward to the day when we can buy these machines essentially the way we buy second generation Dell Optiplexes now. But with that being said, I'm going to cut this video off here, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.